Why you shouldn't chase people anymore. The painful truth about chasing people. The more you chase people, the faster they run. It sounds simple, almost too simple. But if you're honest with yourself, you've felt this truth before. Maybe it was that one person you couldn't stop thinking about, the one you kept texting first, the one you waited on, hoping they'd finally show up the way you needed them to. You told yourself they were just busy, that they'd come around, that if you just tried a little harder, gave a little more, loved a little deeper, things would change. But they didn't. Instead, you found yourself checking your phone more often, rereading old messages, wondering if you said something wrong, wondering if you weren't enough. And here's the part most people don't want to admit. It wasn't just about them. It was about what their attention meant to you. Because when you chase someone, you're not just chasing a person. You're chasing validation. You're chasing a feeling. You're chasing the hope that someone else can fill something inside you that feels empty. And that's where the pain begins. Let's make this real. Imagine this. You wake up, and the first thing you do is check your phone. No message. Your heart sinks a little. You tell yourself, it's fine. But it's not really fine, because a small part of your mood now depends on whether someone else decides to acknowledge your existence. So what do? You send the first message. Again, you keep the conversation going. You carry the energy. You ask the questions. You make the effort. And deep down, you hope they'll notice. You hope they'll appreciate it. You hope they'll finally meet you halfway. But they don't. And slowly, something inside you starts to change. You begin to feel anxious, and you start overthinking every little thing. You analyze their tone, their timing, their silence. You become hyper-aware of their distance while completely ignoring your own worth. This is the trap of chasing. It doesn't just drain your energy, it rewires how you see yourself. Because every time you reach out and they don't respond the way you hoped, your mind starts creating a story. Maybe I'm not interesting enough. Maybe I said too much. Maybe I care more than they do. Maybe I'm just not enough. And without realizing it, you start shrinking. You lower your standards. You tolerate less effort. You accept inconsistency. You convince yourself that crumbs are enough. Because at least it's something. But here's the truth most people never tell you. When you chase someone, you teach them that your attention is unconditional, even when their effort is not. And people respond to that, not always consciously, not always intentionally, but they feel it. They feel that you'll always be there, and they feel that they don't have to try as hard. they feel that no matter how little they give, you'll still stay. And over time, something subtle but powerful happens. They stop valuing what you give. Not because you're not valuable, but because you've made it too easy for them to receive you without earning you. This is why chasing never leads to the kind of love, respect, or connection you're actually looking for. Because real connection isn't built on one person constantly reaching and the other constantly pulling away. It's built on mutual effort, mutual interest, mutual presence, and chasing destroys that balance. But let's go deeper, because this isn't just about behavior. It's about belief. Why do we chase people who clearly aren't choosing us? It often comes down to one thing: fear. The fear of being alone. The fear of being rejected. The fear that if this person leaves, no one else will come. And beneath all of that is a quiet but painful belief: I have to earn love. So you try harder. You become more available, more understanding, more forgiving, more patient. You tell yourself you're being loyal. You tell yourself you're being strong. But in reality, you're abandoning yourself just to hold on to someone else. And the more you do it, the more disconnected you become from your own needs, your own boundaries, your own self-respect. This is why chasing feels so exhausting. Because it's not just physical effort, it's emotional self-betrayal. You're constantly giving without receiving, hoping without certainty, investing without security. And no matter how much you give, it never feels like enough. Because deep down, you're trying to fill an internal void with external attention. And that never works. There's a quiet wisdom found in many ancient teachings, including Buddhist philosophy. Attachment is the root of suffering. Not love, not connection, not caring. Attachment is the need for something or someone to be a certain way in order for you to feel okay. When you chase people, you're attached to an outcome. You're attached to how they should respond, how they should feel, how they should treat you. And when reality doesn't match that expectation, you suffer. You feel rejected, unseen, unimportant. But what if the problem was never their response? What if the real issue was the belief that your worth depends on it? Because here's something you need to hear, even if it's uncomfortable. The right people don't need to be chased. They don't make you question your value. They don't make you feel like you're too much or not enough. They don't leave you guessing where you stand. They show up consistently, effortlessly, naturally, not perfectly, but genuinely. And if someone isn't showing up like that in your life, chasing them won't change it. It will only cost you more of yourself. So, if chasing people is hurting you this much, but why do we keep doing it? And more importantly, how do we finally stop? If you're ready to break free from this cycle and start reclaiming your time, your energy, and your self-worth, make sure you subscribe to Buddha Flash, because what we're about to talk about next might completely change how you see relationships and yourself. The shift. Why letting go is power. There comes a moment quiet, almost unnoticeable at first, when something inside you starts to wake up. It's not dramatic. It's not loud. It doesn't happen all at once. But one day, you get tired. Tired of overthinking. Tired of waiting. Tired of giving so much and receiving so little in return. And in that moment, a new question begins to form. What if I stopped chasing? Not out of anger, not out of pride, but out of self-respect. Because eventually, you realize something that changes everything. You cannot force someone to choose you. And no matter how kind you are, no matter how patient you are, no matter how much love you have to give, if someone doesn't see your value, no amount of effort will convince them to. And that realization, as painful as it is also incredibly freeing, because it shifts your focus. Instead of asking, why don't they want me? You begin asking, why do I want someone who doesn't choose me? That's the turning point. That's where your power begins to return. Let's talk about something that sounds simple, but is deeply misunderstood. Letting go. Most people think letting go means losing something, giving up, walking away empty-handed. But in reality, letting go is not a loss. It's a release. It's the moment you stop gripping so tightly to something that's hurting you. It's the moment you stop trying to control what was never yours to control. And ironically, it's the moment you become more powerful than ever. Because when you stop chasing, as you stop operating from fear and start operating from self-worth, there's a kind of quiet confidence that comes with detachment. Not the cold, distant kind, not the I don't care about anything kind, but the grounded kind, the kind that says, I care, but I also respect myself enough to walk away if it's not mutual. That energy is different. People feel it. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how the person who seems the least desperate for attention often receives the most? The one who isn't constantly texting first. The one who isn't trying to prove themselves. The one who is okay being alone. That person becomes magnetic. Not because they're playing games, but because they're not seeking validation. They already have it within themselves. And that's what makes all the difference. Because chasing pushes people away, but self-assurance draws the right people in. Now let's go deeper into something important: your self-worth. For a long time, you may have measured your value based on how others treated you. If they responded quickly, you felt important. If they showed interest, you felt worthy. If they pulled away, you felt rejected. But here's the truth. Your worth was never meant to be measured that way. Because other people's behavior is not a reflection of your value. It's a reflection of their capacity, their ability to communicate, their emotional availability, their level of maturity. And once you truly understand that, everything begins to change. You stop taking things so personally. You stop internalizing someone else's inconsistency as your failure. And you start seeing clearly. Not everyone is meant to meet you where you are. And that's okay. Because your job is not to convince people to rise to your level. Your job is to choose people who already meet you there. Here's a powerful shift in perspective. Instead of asking, "How can I get them to like me?" start asking, "Do I even like who I become when I'm around them?" Because chasing often makes you someone you're not. You become more anxious, more insecure, more willing to tolerate things you normally wouldn't. And that's a cost most people don't talk about. Chasing doesn't just affect your relationships, it changes your identity. But when you let go, you come back to yourself. You rediscover your boundaries, your standards, your peace. And slowly, you begin to rebuild something that chasing took away from you: your sense of self. Now, what actually happens when you stop chasing? At first, it feels uncomfortable. You might feel the urge to reach out, to check in, to go back to old habits, because your mind is used to that cycle. But if you stay with it, if you resist the urge to chase, you'll start to notice something powerful. Your mind becomes quieter. You stop obsessing over someone else's actions. You stop waiting for responses. You stop living in anticipation. And in that silence, you begin to feel something you may not have felt in a long time: peace. Real peace. Not the temporary relief of getting a reply, but the steady calm of not needing one. And from that place, something even more beautiful happens. You become selective. You no longer accept just anyone into your life. You start noticing effort, consistency, respect. And when those things aren't there, you don't chase them. You walk away. Not because you don't care, but because you care about yourself more. There's a quiet law in life that many people overlook. When you stop chasing what's not meant for you, you create space for what is. But that only happens when you're willing to let go. Not halfway, not temporarily, but fully. And that's not easy, because letting go means facing uncertainty. It means trusting that something better will come, even when you can't see it yet. But here's something you need to remember. Holding on to the wrong person doesn't bring you closer to the right one. It only delays them. And so every moment you spend chasing someone who isn't choosing you is a moment you're unavailable for someone who will. Letting go isn't weakness, it's clarity. It's the decision to stop investing in what drains you and start investing in what builds you. It's choosing self-respect over temporary comfort. And once you make that shift, your entire life begins to change. But here's the truth. Letting go is only the beginning. Because once you stop chasing, you're left with something you may not be used to. Yourself, your thoughts, your habits, your patterns. And if you really want to break free from this cycle, you have to learn how to rebuild from within. So how do you actually do that? How do you stop chasing? Not just on the surface, but at the deepest level. Let's get into that next. How to stop chasing and reclaim your power. Let's be honest, deciding to stop chasing is one thing. Actually doing it is something else entirely. Because this isn't just a habit. It's a pattern and a deeply rooted way of thinking, feeling, and reacting. And if you don't address it at the source, it will keep showing up in different forms, with different people, over and over again. So this final part is where everything comes together. This is where you stop understanding the problem and start transforming your life. Step 1. Become aware of your patterns. Before you can change anything, you have to see it clearly. Ask yourself, who am I constantly trying to impress? Who am I afraid of losing? Where in my life am I over-giving and under-receiving? Be honest. Maybe it's the person you always text first. Maybe it's the one you make excuses for. Maybe it's someone who only shows up when it's convenient for them, but you're always available when they need you. That's not connection. That's imbalance. And awareness is powerful because it breaks the illusion. When you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. And you begin to notice your own behaviors in real time. When you're about to double text, when you're waiting anxiously for a reply, when you're about to lower your standards just to keep someone around. That moment of awareness, that's where your power begins. Step 2. Set boundaries, even if it feels uncomfortable. This is where most people struggle, Because setting boundaries often feels like you're pushing people away. But in reality, you're doing the opposite. You're creating a space where only the right people can stay. Boundaries are not about controlling others. They're about protecting your energy. It can be simple. You don't respond immediately to every message. You don't always say yes. You don't over-explain yourself just to be understood. And most importantly, you stop chasing clarity from people who choose to be confusing. Because someone who truly values you won't make you question where you stand. At first, setting boundaries might feel unnatural. You might worry that people will leave, and some will. But those are usually the ones who benefited from you having none. The people who truly respect you, they'll adjust. They'll meet you there. Step 3. Redirect your energy back to yourself. Here's something most people never realize. The energy you spend chasing someone is the same energy you could use to completely transform your life. Think about how much time you've spent checking your phone, replaying conversations, overthinking their actions, trying to figure them out. Now imagine taking all of that energy and putting it into yourself, your health, your goals, your growth, your peace. This is where everything shifts. You start building a life that doesn't revolve around someone else's attention. You go to the gym not to impress someone, but to feel strong. You learn new skills, not to be liked, but to grow. You invest in your future, not to prove anything, but because you believe you're worth it. And slowly, something incredible happens. You stop needing people and start choosing them. Step 4. Learn to be alone without feeling lonely. This is one of the most important steps and one of the hardest, because a lot of chasing comes from a fear of being alone. But being alone is not the same as being lonely. Loneliness comes from disconnection from yourself. Solitude, on the other hand, is where you reconnect. It's where you learn to enjoy your own company, where you understand your own thoughts, where you become comfortable with who you are without needing constant validation. At first, it might feel quiet, too quiet. You might feel the urge to reach out, to fill the space, to go back to what's familiar. But if you stay with it, you'll discover something powerful. You are enough company for yourself. And once you truly feel that, everything changes. Because you no longer tolerate people just to avoid being alone. You wait for connections that actually add value to your life. And step 5. Trust that the right people will stay. This is where faith comes in. Not blind hope, not wishful thinking, but a deep understanding of how real connection works. The right people, the ones who truly align with you, won't require you to chase them. They won't make you beg for attention. They won't make you feel like you're too much or not enough. They will meet you halfway, consistently, naturally. And when you stop chasing, you give those people the space to find you. Because here's the truth. When you're constantly running after the wrong people, you're too busy to notice the right ones. So trust the process. Trust that by choosing yourself, you're not losing anything real. You're only releasing what was never meant to stay. Emotional closing. At the end of the day, this isn't just about relationships. It's about how you see yourself. Chasing people is often a sign that somewhere along the way, you forgot your value. You forgot that you deserve effort. You deserve consistency. You deserve to be chosen freely, naturally, without pressure. And the moment you stop chasing, you send a powerful message to yourself and the world. I am not here to beg for attention. I am here to be respected. That's where your life changes. That's where your peace begins. Because the truth is simple. What's meant for you will never require you to chase it. If this message resonated with you, and you're ready to step into a more peaceful, powerful version of yourself, make sure you subscribe to Buddha Flash for more life-changing insights. And now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever chased someone who didn't value you? And what did that experience teach you?